Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Sunday, June 18th, 2023. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers watching Ron's Rundown. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Sunday in Major League Baseball. First up, it's the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Chicago Cubs. Dean Kramer and Jameson Taillon are your starters. Yeah, I like the over in this game with the Chicago Cubs offense having a big series against the Pirates. We saw him score 10 runs in the first game of this series, facing Dean Kramer, who's not in the best of form. His last two starts, 11 innings of work, 17 base hits, so a lot of base runners, 8 earned runs and 2 home runs along the way. He's got a 4.86 ERA on the road this year. I do think the Cubs will get to him. And Jameson Taillon on the other side, he's not having a great season. 6.7 ERA, even steeper at Wrigley Field with 7.25. His last two starts, 11 1/3 innings with 4 home runs allowed, 7 earned runs, 11 base hits, and 6 walks to go with it. So his control's been off. He's given up a lot of sharp contact. He's facing a tough Orioles lineup. I like the over in this game between Baltimore and Chicago. Next up, it's the Colorado Rockies taking on the Atlanta Braves. Chase Anderson and Charlie Morton are your starters. Now, the Braves are big favorites, and I think for good reason. This team has crushed right-handed pitching as of late. They face a righty who I expect to regress as the season continues in Chase Anderson. I think the Braves get to him early and often. Chase Anderson's got a 2.72 ERA, and his strikeout numbers have picked it up as of late, but he's also giving up a lot of sharp contact as of late. He's given up at least 1 home run in each of his last 4 starts. That's a bad sign facing this Braves lineup that's been so powerful this season. Number 1 in baseball in team OPS and isolated power against right-handed pitchers in the last 30 days with a very low strikeout rate as well. I mentioned it in the previous video. It's very impressive to see a lineup that's so power dependent not have a very high strikeout rate recently against right-handed pitchers, 18.9%. So I think the Braves offense has a big day. I think Charlie Morton's good enough here. He's pitching well this season, a 3.6 ERA on the year. His last start was one of his best 5 2/3 innings of shutout baseball with 8 strikeouts against the Tigers. Give me the Atlanta Braves on the run line. Next up, we see the Miami Marlins taking on the Washington Nationals. Jesus Luzardo and Patrick Corbin are your starters. Pair of lefties on the mound in this one. Now, I like the over in this game. Both of these teams have hit lefties well this year. Luzardo has struggled on the road. But I do think the Marlins win this game in the end. I think they have the better bullpen. I do think Luzardo, even though he has struggled away from Lone Depot, is still the better option in this game. And the Marlins are number 4 in baseball in team OPS against lefties in the last 30 days with a low strikeout rate to go with it at 19.9%. Patrick Corbin's had a decent year this year. He's definitely a better year than 2022. But he still has a 4.81 ERA. And even though he's made some improvements as of late, his last 11 innings of work, 15 base hits and 2 home runs, 6 walks to go with it. So a lot of base runners, 2 losses for the Nationals in those games. I can't take the Nationals in this game with their bullpen struggling. Their lineup against lefties has been solid, like I mentioned, but the Marlins has just been better. I think Luzardo's got better strikeout stuff, and I think he's going to be the better starter in this game. So give me the Miami Marlins here on the money line. Next up, we see the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the New York Mets. Matthew Liberatore and Carlos Carrasco are your starters. This is a tough game for me. You got 2 of the more disappointing teams in the National League, 2 of the more disappointing pitchers in the National League, and Matthew Liberatore and Carlos Carrasco, 2 guys that have steep ERAs and don't really have the best expected numbers either. I mean, Liberatore's got a 5.14 ERA, but a 6.73 expected ERA. Carrasco's got a 5.71 ERA and a 6.25 FIP, but a 6.04 expected ERA. So, not really a lot to love with either of these options. But I will say, the Mets are a few games above 500 at home this year. Cardinals, more than a few games below 500 on the road. I do think New York is the better side here slightly, so I'll take a chance here with the New York Mets on the money line, but not my favorite game on the board. Next up, we see the Los Angeles Angels taking on the Kansas City Royals. Tyler Anderson and Zach Greinke are your starters. I like the over in this game. Even though Zach Greinke's been better at home than he has been on the road, I still think facing a team that's so good against righties like the Angels are, it's still not a great matchup to be in for Greinke. I mean, his last start, he went 5 innings, gave up 6 base hits, a lot of sharp contact in that game. I watched that start. A home run, 3 earned runs. I think Greinke was honestly a little bit fortunate to only give up 3 runs in that ball game. And, Tyler Anderson on the other side, he's struggled this year, a 5.8 ERA. His expected numbers aren't great. He's been struggling. His last start, 5 earned runs, 6 innings of work, 5 earned runs, a home run, 2 walks in that game, a high-scoring affair, 9-6 final score. I think we see another high-scoring game here. Don't trust this Royals bullpen, so give me the over here. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Houston Astros. Luke Weaver and Ronel Blanco on the mound in this one. I don't trust Luke Weaver in this game. The Astros, I've mentioned a few times, they're improving their numbers against right-handed pitchers. In the last 30 days, they're number 8 in baseball in team OPS. Their isolated power is also number 5 in baseball, so much better numbers than what we saw at the beginning of the season. And Luke Weaver, he misses both inside and outside the zone. I mean, his control has been off a little bit as of late. 6 walks in his last 2 games against the Dodgers and Royals, and only 3 2/3 and 4 2/3 pitched in those ball games. He also misses inside the zone, giving up a good amount of sharp contact, home runs, 12 home runs in 52 innings of work this year. He's given up a lot of extra base hits. His strikeout numbers are good, but not good enough for me. Still under a strikeout per inning. Blanco's been solid in the role that he's had. I mean, a 3.86 ERA. He's got 26 strikeouts and 23 1/3 innings of work. Most of his work this season has been out of the bullpen, but his last couple of games were starting pitching roles, and he pitched pretty well in those games. Even though he gave up a home run in both of those starts against the Blue Jays and Angels, he went 5 1/3, 2 runs against the Blue Jays with 5 Ks, 6 innings, a 2-run ball, a quality start with 5 strikeouts against the Blue Jays. 2 tough lineups there. I think he's good enough here and a good bullpen to back him up. So give me the Houston Astros on the money line, and I'd lay some on the run line as well. Next up, we see the Detroit Tigers taking on the Minnesota Twins. Louis Varland going for Minnesota. No official starter for the Tigers right now. I'm going to lean towards the Twins on the run line. We'll see who the Tigers decide to go with on the bump. But Louis Varland, although he has struggled in his last couple of games, I think this is a good bounce-back spot for him. In those 2 starts, he gave up 11 earned runs and 3 home runs, but those were both on the road against the Tampa Bay Rays and the Toronto Blue Jays. We know 2 of the tougher teams to face as a righty this season. So Varland back at home where he's got a 3.44 ERA, facing a team, the Tigers, that's got bad numbers against righties, 25th and 24th in team OPS and isolated power against righties in the last 30 days. I think this is a good spot for Varland. I'm going to take the Twins here on the run line. Next up, we see the Milwaukee Brewers taking on the Pittsburgh Pirates. Luis Ortiz and Freddie Peralta are your starters. Now, Freddie Peralta was struggling going into his start against the Toronto Blue Jays, and in that game, he gave up 3 runs in the first inning, but he settled down really nicely in that start and put together a quality outing, 6 innings, 3 runs against Toronto, even though the Brewers lost that game. I thought it was a good sign for Freddie Peralta going forward. Then he followed up that start by going 5 innings, a 2-run ball, giving up another home run, but had 9 strikeouts against the Baltimore Orioles. Right when I think Freddie Peralta is starting to get back to form, we see him go against the Oakland Athletics in his last start at home. It was a really good spot for him. He goes 5 innings, gives up 4 runs, 2 home runs in that game, and 2 walks to go with it in an 8-6 Brewers loss. So it's really tough to trust Peralta in this game. He's giving up a lot of sharp contact, a lot of home runs, and I do think the Pirates will be able to get to him. On the other side, though, I do think the Brewers will be able to put up a fight here offensively against Luis Ortiz, who is also giving up a lot of sharp contact this season, a lot of base runners as of late, 16 base hits and 4 walks in his last 2 starts against the Cubs and the A's in 10 1/3 innings of work. Those were 9-5 and 11-3 Pirates losses. So give me the over here in Pittsburgh, Milwaukee. Next up is the Toronto Blue Jays taking on the Texas Rangers. Chris Bassitt and John Gray are your starters. Chris Bassitt's last start we know was one of his worst of the season. 3 innings of work, 11 base hits, 8 earned runs, and 3 home runs in an 11-6 Orioles win. And Bassitt overall has struggled on the road this year. At Rogers Center, at home, he's been excellent with a 2.18 ERA in 41 1/3 innings of work. But on the road, in 43 2/3 innings, a 5.77 ERA. He's only given up 2 home runs at home, 13 home runs on the road, a 131 opponent's batting average at home, 287 on the road. So I just can't trust Bassitt or the Blue Jays in this game. When you got John Gray on the other side, you look at his numbers, a 2.32 ERA overall, but it's even more impressive that in his last 6 starts, only 4 earned runs combined allowed from John Gray. Now, obviously, he's faced some weaker lineups like the A's and the Rockies at home and the Mariners, but still, it's impressive for any starting pitcher to have that kind of run. He's been able to miss a lot of bats. He's keeping the ball on the ground. I think he's good enough here for the Rangers to win this game. So give me the Texas Rangers on the run line, laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, it's the Philadelphia Phillies taking on the Oakland Athletics. Hogan Harris and Zach Wheeler are your starters. Hogan Harris has been solid in his role so far with the Oakland A's in that starting rotation. A 2-0 record. 4.84 ERA is not bad when you compare it to the other A's starters this year. But I still have my concerns with this game going forward. Not the best strikeout numbers, only 5.64 Ks per 9. It gives them a 5.35 xFIP, and the Phillies have improved their numbers offensively both against righties and lefties in the last 2 weeks or so. Zach Wheeler's a good option on the other side, even though he has struggled more so on the road than at home. We know his last road start was against the very tough Arizona Diamondbacks. He went 6 innings of 1-run ball with 7 strikeouts in a 15-3 Phillies win. The Phillies have won 3 of the last 4 games that Wheeler has started in. I like their chances in this one. Give me the Philadelphia Phillies on the run line. Next up, we see the Chicago White Sox taking on the Seattle Mariners. Bryce Miller and Lance Lynn are your starters. Now, both of these starting pitchers were struggling at the end of May, early June, but one of these guys bounced back with his last game against the Miami Marlins. Bryce Miller, 6 innings, 1 run, only 1 base hit. It was a home run, 6 strikeouts, and an 8-1 Mariners win. The other one, Lance Lynn, he struggled again in his last start against the Dodgers. 5 innings, 6 hits, 5 total runs. 4 of those were earned, 2 home runs in that game, in a 5-1 White Sox loss. I just can't trust Lance Lynn in this one. He's given up 8 earned runs, 5 earned runs, 4 earned runs in his last 3 games. A lot of home runs, walks, and base hits to go with it. His strikeout numbers have been decent, but I don't think he's good enough here on the road. Give me the Seattle Mariners on the money line. Next up is the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Tanner Bybee and Zach Davies are your starters. I like the over in this game. Tanner Bybee has struggled on the road this year. He's got a 5.75 ERA away from Progressive Field in 20 1/3 road innings. And his last start was on the road against the San Diego Padres. He went 4 innings, 8 base hits, 6 earned runs, and 2 home runs in a 6-3 Guardians loss. But on the other side, Zach Davies has struggled at Chase Field. We know he struggled mightily in his last game against the Philadelphia Phillies. 3 innings of work, 6 runs total. 4 of those were earned. A home run, 3 walks to go with it. A lot of sharp contact, a lot of base runners. And I don't trust him here. He's got, overall this season at Chase Field, his ERA is at 7.71. Small sample size. He hasn't pitched too much this season, but I still think the Guardians, a lineup that limits strikeouts, puts the ball in play, will be able to get to Zach Davies in this one. So give me the over. You can take the over in the first 5, but I like the over in the full game as well. Next up, we see the San Francisco Giants taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Logan Webb and Tony Gonsolin are your starters. I think the Giants have the better starting pitcher, the better bullpen, and when you look in the last 30 days, they have the better team OPS against right-handed pitchers, and than the Dodgers do. So I think the Giants are the better side here. Logan Webb in the month of June, a 4.66 ERA, but one of those starts was at Coors Field. We know a very tough place to pitch, especially if you're a pitch-to-contact guy like Logan Webb is. Still a 34-25 ground ball to fly ball ratio in the month of June. He is pitching well, in my opinion. 2 out of 3 starts in this month were quality outings where he went 7+ innings of 3-run or less baseball. And last year we saw Webb struggle against these Dodgers, but it was really more so at Oracle Park. At Dodger Stadium, he went 12 innings of 2.25 ERA baseball. I think he's good enough here. I'm going to take the San Francisco Giants on the money line on the road. Next up, it's the Tampa Bay Rays taking on the San Diego Padres. No official starter for Tampa Bay, but we should see Joe Musgrove going for San Diego. Could be a bullpen game for Tampa Bay. We know that I'm not the biggest fan of this Rays bullpen this season. Their expected numbers weren't great at the beginning of the year. They regressed in quite a big way in the month of May. And in the month of June, in the last 30 days, you could say a 4.26 Sierra is the 6th highest in baseball. In the last 30 days, a 4.73 ERA is also not great. So I don't love this Rays pitching staff in this game. And Joe Musgrove, you look at his ERA at home at 5.55. It is misleading because one of those starts was the Mexico City Series game. At Petco Park this season, a 3.43 ERA and 21 innings of work. 24 strikeouts to go with it. We saw his last start was a home game against the Cleveland Guardians. It was a quality start, 6 innings, 3 runs. It was a win for San Diego, 6-3. The Padres are 3-1 on the money line and 3-1 on the run line in the last 4 starts for Joe Musgrove. I like their chances in this one. Give me the San Diego Padres on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Sunday in the MLB. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.